In the summer of 1794, a log church, 36 feet by 40 feet. It was constructed by Jacob Barger, Nicholas Bush, Caspar Clemen, and Caspar Coiner. The church had no windows. It was called Spindle's Meeting House, as no building that was not Church of England could be called a church. Reverend Adolph Spindle served this church till 1809, and also St. John's in Middlebrook, a Reformed church, as the Lutheran and Reformed churches were united at that time. Michael, at age 71, made the nails used in building the church. We have a nail in a wooden box made from the logs of the first church. The box was used to store the communion ware. Still, pastors were few, and church services were very infrequent. One of the early pastors that served the congregation was Reverend Paul Hinkle of Newmarket, Virginia. He traveled over 30,000 miles from 1782 to 1825 by horseback, horse and buggy, and walking, establishing churches, preaching, and baptizing, the greatest Lutheran missionary in America. He preached at the log church from time to time, as did 2 of his 5 minister sons, all true Lutherans. Sometime about 1825, a liberal pastor appeared and offered to preach every Sunday. This sounded good, as the other pastors only came once a month. But Caspar Coiner stood up in the church and said, "Get out. We don't want any liberal doctrine here." The pastor went across the road with several members following and held services in the field until Zion Lutheran Church was built. In 1837, the last communion service in the German language was held, and by 1838 all records were kept in English. Reverend Ambrose Hinkle was pastor from 1833 to 1837, and of him it is said that he is so faithful in his labors, he is considered one of the 3 fathers of the old church, Pastor Paul Hinkle and Caspar Coiner being the other 2. Of the 69 adults who communed May 12, 1845, 38 Coiners were listed. In 1856, Caspar Coiner died at the age of 92, having worshiped for 62 years during 7 pastorates. The country was increasing in population and growing.
The log church was torn down in 1838, and a brick church the same size was built in the same location. The new church was called Coiner's Church, a name that lasted 43 years. Also, a congregation was established near Mount Solon, Virginia, called St. Paul's, and a mission in Pendleton, West Virginia. The Reverend J. Killian became pastor in 1837 and served 37 years, giving the congregation some stability. About 1854, the congregation built Bethlehem to save travel time for the members who lived in that area. From 1861 to 1865, the Civil War turned the valley into a scene of desolation. Many men from the congregation were called to duty. A total of 67 men named Coiner served gallantly in the Confederate Army during that time. 5 were killed, many were wounded, and some became prisoners. Reverend J. E. Seneca became pastor in the difficult period of Reconstruction following the Civil War. The county was devastated and everyone was poor, but a parsonage was built on 3 acres to the northeast corner of the grove. Gradually the economy grew, and by 1885 to 1890 the members were prosperous generally, as we will see. According to Reverend E. T. Coiner, it was used as a cemetery about 1730 or 1740, beginning in the northeast corner, where the graves were arranged in rows facing the east. There were several graves outside the present fence about 1880, which, like the first 100 graves inside the fence, were marked only with flat stones, mostly with no dates on them. This cemetery was possibly the first cemetery of the whole section of South River. It was used by our church starting about 1780. It was established as at present about 1880. In 1962, a complete census was made and has been kept up to date. In 1932, trustees of the church established a perpetual care trust fund with $163.24, and with later donations and good investment, it now totals $365,000 and will take care of the cemetery and Trinity Church forever. What good foresight. All 56 veterans buried there of all U.S. wars are now marked with a bronze plaque. Due to the increase in membership and attendance, more space was needed in the church. In 1880, the Pointers Church building was in such poor condition that a committee was appointed to make either repairs or build a new church. It was decided to build a new church on land donated by Mr. Slagle, whose wife was a Pointer. The new church was dedicated in 1881 and was named Trinity. At the time this was built, there were only a few trees on the property, so a request for someone to provide trees was made, and since that time till now the grove has been an asset to the church. It adds to the solemnity of the area. In 1901 and 1902, Trinity Church was remodeled and expanded to the size it is today because of membership growth. Also, the cemetery was enlarged. In 1879, Reverend Frederick J. Kegley was installed as pastor. Till now, the congregation has been associated with the conservative Tennessee Synod, but with his guidance, the English district of LCMS was formed. More about this later.